Welcome to Healthy Vegan Living. I'm Gary, and today what we're going to be making is a kumquat carrot cake. It's not going to have any yeast in it. It's just going to have basically baking soda and baking powder. And it rises very little is what I've noticed. So this is a kumquat carrot cake because I love kumquats. I love them more than pineapple. This is a basic recipe that my wife uses for herself, and I've changed it to be vegan. Alright. So we start off with flour. In this case, this is all-purpose flour. Next, we have vegan sugar. I purchased mine from Morena Pure Cane Sugar, and it has no dyes on it, no bone char, so it's vegan. For the flour, you're going to need some kind of system to be able to shift the flour. I bought this electric one, and I've loved it ever since. You're going to need some pumpkin spice. I got this at Amazon for a great deal, like just a couple bucks. You're going to need baking powder. I'm using Glabber Girl. Baking soda. This one is from Sprouts. You're going to need, in this case, instead of pineapple, you're going to use kumquats. They have to be drained. Since we're not using eggs in this because it's vegan, we're going to use chia seeds, and I'm going to show you how I drain them. You're going to need some applesauce. This actually replaces the oil in a lot of cooking. You're going to need your carrots. And because a traditional carrot cake has raisins, I decided what I would do is I would use goji berries. Come and see how this turns out. I think you'll find it interesting. It's basically a 1 cake layer 9-inch round pan, like so. And it'll be lined with parchment paper. You'll need a cooling rack. You'll need your measuring spoons. But all of this is pretty standard to anybody who does any baking. Alright, so let's get started.
Welcome to Healthy Vegan Living, a whole food, plant-based lifestyle.
Okay, so the first thing I like to do is let's move all of the ingredients we have to the side. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pan and we're going to put parchment paper in it. Because I buy at Sam's Club, I buy these gigantic rolls, which of course are always way too much more than I need. But it's affordable and I always have it on hand. Now what I do, I kind of measure what I have and a little bit over it, because I use the parchment paper after the cake as baked to pull it out of the pan. Now wherever you have a crease in your paper, you're going to have a crease in your cake, which is another reason why we're frosting this cake. Alright, so once we get this done, this is basically taken care of. We're going to set it aside. You have to make your binder. You're not using any eggs here, so you have to make this. So let me show you how I do it. You'll need some kind of something to hold it in. You'll need a tablespoon, and in this particular recipe, you need 2 eggs. Now this is how you do it. You take your tablespoon. Now you have 2 choices. You can, if the seeds bother you because you may have diverticulitis or something of that nature, then you grind your seeds. If the seeds don't bother you, because these will become gelatinous and they'll be soft, so you're not really going to ever see them. So the choice is grinding them or using them whole. So right now we're just going to measure. 2 tablespoons. Next we're going to get our grinder. This is my mother's favorite grinder. probably because it works. Alright, so we're going to stop for a few minutes while I clean it. Once your grinder is clean, what you will normally do is you will take your 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and pour it in your grinder. And then once it's completely grinded down, you'll take 6 tablespoons of water and you'll add it to your container and you'll let it sit for 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes longer. If it's colder, you're going to need to take between 5 and 10 minutes for it to come to its gelatinous condition. And that's the reason why you make this ahead of time. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to bring the camera down so you can see what I'm doing step by step. Alright, so what you see here is the grinder with the chia seeds. Doesn't take much. After you do that, remeasure your tablespoons. We're just going to pour it in here. Look, this thing comes apart. Makes it a lot easier. See the residue? That's why it's so important you clean these. And you're just going to take your tablespoon. See, so 2 tablespoons of chia seeds makes a lot more tablespoons of ground chia seed meal. Okay, here comes the fun part. You're going to take your water. Now for each tablespoon of chia seed, you're going to put 3 tablespoons of water. That's what it is. Four, 5, 6. Okay, and that's it. Now when it becomes gelatinous, you're going to use everything in this container in the recipe. You're not going to remeasure again. That's not the purpose of it. It's already been measured. It's ready to go. But we're going to put it aside next to our pan and we're going to go to the flour. So recently what I've been doing is buying an electric sifter for the flour. It costs $20 on Amazon.com if you're interested. So what we're going to do is we're going to scoop in from our all-purpose flour bag a cup. Yeah, got to whisk it. Alright, too much. Okay. Alright. So then what we're going to do next is we're going to put this in here. See, now that's how it's supposed to work. If your flour has got even a little bit of humidity, it takes a long time to sift your flour. This all-purpose brand new bag of flour, only been in my refrigerator for maybe a week, sifted in seconds. Now we're going to remeasure it. That is 1 cup right there. And here are the extra aerated flour. Now what I do is I don't put this flour back in here once I pull it out. I try to keep this bag as pristine as possible. But I do save the flour. I put it in a separate plastic container and I add it to it. And I'll be showing you that in a few minutes. Okay? So this is our first ingredient from the dry ingredient list. So what I do is I close the bag as carefully as I can and I put a very heavy duty clip on it. And then I reinsert it into, in this case, Stater Brothers, where I do most of my purchases, except for at Sam's Club, because Sam's Club doesn't have any bags. And I reinsert this in my refrigerator, and then it stays fresh. Alright, now we're going to assemble our dry ingredients. This is the sifted flour. We need half a cup vegan sugar. It's a lot easier if you use those half-cup containers. There. You need 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice. Okay, I didn't do that very well. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Of course, then you have the problem of having to do this to it. Okay, it's going to take half a teaspoon of baking soda. Brand new container. Gotta read the directions to open it. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Now for the wet ingredients, you're going to need 8 ounces of kumquat. You're going to need your pre-made chia seeds, and you're going to need a 1/4 cup. And this is unsweetened applesauce. You're going to pour it in this smaller bowl. Let's put it together. Look, it's always gelatinous, so I'm going to have to do something else to it. Let's see if we can pull it out. And you're going to put your applesauce. Now this recipe, in the old days, they used to use beater mixes a lot. And they expect you to use a beater mix to really beat this down. And I think you can stir it hard like this and not have to worry about it. It's the same thing with the flour. When you add the wet to the dry, they're expecting you to use a beater mix for at least, like an egg beater, for at least 3 minutes. I'm going to use my little spatula and I'm going to try to fold it in. And I'm hoping by doing this that it becomes fluffy. Otherwise, what can happen is it'll be a lot like nut cakes or like fruit cakes that you get at Christmas time. The bread is very, very dense, and back in those days, that's how they did it. So I'm trying something a little different. I'm folding in my flour, I'm folding in all of my ingredients together. So this is well mixed. All right, so now what we're going to do, what do you have left of the wet ingredients? You have the carrots, and these are the goji berries, which are placed at the very, very end after you've mixed in your batter. So that's what we're doing next. All right, so I carefully well mixed the wet ingredients we talked about. And this is going to be the dry ingredients. So now we're going to switch bowls around this way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm carefully going to just put a little bit at a time in my dry ingredients. And I'm just forming the batter. And you just keep on going, scraping the sides of the bowl until it's thoroughly mixed. But you try not to overmix. Now they all tell you to do that, because if you overmix, it's going to be, you're going back to having that really firm fruit cake nobody likes and uses for to hold doors instead of eating. In my family, my mother and my grandmother and all my aunts and uncles love fruit cake. We don't have that problem. Okay, so we're just going to mix the bottoms there. You can see the batter starting to come together. I'm going to fold it in. This might be the reason why they wanted you to use a mixer. Now you add your carrots. And your goji berries. And then you mix it all in. Again, fold it in. Alright, looks like pretty good. Then take your 9-inch pan and you're going to grab a piece of it, your dough, just to keep it in place. Now, pour it out of the bowl here and you're going to put it in. Oh, I forgot a most important thing. Your oven needs to be set. Bake 350. Start. Should have done that earlier, but I got captured by the moment and I didn't get that done. Okay. So scrape your bowl, you want to get all your ingredients. Then take your spatula and mold it to the pan. Now, if it doesn't cooperate easily, use a little bit of water to flatten it out. See, there's a wrinkle there, so you can have a wrinkle there. Okay, we're going to wait for the oven to go, and we're going to put this in. Gotta kind of try to make it all level. Alright, so that's it. While the oven is coming to temperature, you're going to clean up your kitchen. Put away all the ingredients that you don't need. Alright, so this now, what's really cool, when the cake is ready, you just pull it out this way, built-in handles. Or this way. That's why I do that. I don't use any oil in my cooking, so that just makes it so much easier. Now what we're going to show you is how to make the topping. So when this is all ready, traditionally carrot cake as topping. A delicious sugar coating, or sometimes people use powdered sugar on top of it. This is going to be a dairy-free, oil-free, gluten-free, vegan and vegetarian topping. You're going to be using tofu. In this case, this is House Food Organic. You're going to use kumquat juice because it's very similar to lemon. You're going to use powdered sugar. We're going to have to powder this sugar, so I'll show you how I do that. You're going to use pure vanilla extract. I use McCormick. And you're also going to use nutmeg. This recipe was inspired by Holinda Hackett, who does the spruceeats.com. And I've looked at many different toppings, and this is the best for this cake. I hope you enjoy it. So come and see, we'll put it together. Now this is going to be like the frosting on top of your cooled cake. So when it comes out of the oven, you're going to let it cool completely, and then you're going to apply this tofu frosting. So the first ingredient is going to, if you take a container like I've done here, and you pour out the juice, save the juice, you can use it in other applications. I like it, I drink it just the way it is. What I've done is I've taken half a container. This container is a 12-ounce container, and so I've used a scale, and I've exactly 6 ounces. So we're going to put that in first. Next, we're going to need 1 tablespoon of kumquat juice. Now, normally, traditionally, you use lemon juice. So if you don't have kumquats, that's what you can do. Next, you're going to do is vegan powdered sugar. Alright, we don't have powdered sugar, so what you're going to do is you're going to just grind it up in this grinder here. And we need 2 tablespoons. Take 2 tablespoons. That's it. Not that. Then you're going to add
half a teaspoon vanilla extract and half a teaspoon nutmeg.
not very much. If you're not certain, do it over a bowl and transfer it over. There's that. And then you're going to mix it together. Now, it's easier if you put this in a blender. But for right now, I'm just going to mix it by hand. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our blender.
To blend the extra firm tofu frosting, just add 1/8 of a cup of non-dairy milk, such as almond milk, and blend until the frosting is smooth. Once the cake has cooled, pour the frosting on the cake.
So the oven finally reached 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I'm 6'3", we have 2 ovens. So I'm going to use the top oven. My wife, she uses the bottom oven. Get your cake, put it in the middle rack. About middle, and close the lid. Now you've got to set your timer. It's really easy to walk away. My very first cake, I overcooked it. It was black on the inside, black on the outside. It was definitely a hockey puck. Don't want to let that happen to you. So we're going to walk over to the timer and we're going to turn it on. My easiest timer is my microwave.
Set your timer for 55 minutes.
Because I know that my oven runs hotter than conventional oven. It's the timer, we're going to turn it off. Get 2 oven mitts and remove your cake out of the oven. And you can see it's risen a little bit. Now we're going to get a cooling rack and I'm going to put this on. Let me show you how I do it. Pick up the edges of your cake and put it down the center. Now set the timer for 15 minutes. Alright, it doesn't really need to take that, but right now the kitchen is hot. So we'll see you in a few minutes. It's been out for 15 minutes, but what I want to do is remove the paper. So what I did, I put a plate on the very bottom. See how it's coming off nicely? And this is without oil. And use another plate on top and flip it, and there's the top again. We're just going to leave it like this until it's thoroughly cooled before we put on our magical tofu dressing topping. Okay, we're at the point where now the cake is cooled. It's been flipped over correctly, so the top is facing us. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour the topping. Now, just pour it on top. Now, if you have a larger plate, like so, if you did this ahead of time, it would have been smarter. Slide it on. Because you're going to want to do the sides. Think of this as like a milkshake. You know how milkshakes are fairly thick? This is how you want your icing to be. Okay, then to decorate it, you could put in like a carrot down the center with some carrot leaves, of course. Let's see what would that look like. Probably like that. Or if that didn't work for you, what you could do is you could add a slight sprinkling of some little bit carrot tops. This is the shredded carrots that I did in the blender. Okay, so that's it. So now that it's done, what you could do is you could stick it in the refrigerator to cool down. That will make the topping a little bit tighter. Alright, so you can use a normal carrot, like I had this is from my garden, or you could sprinkle carrots like you saw me use in the recipe, or you could just leave it alone and just put the glaze on top, or in this case really the icing topping. And I think you'll find that it's just going to be perfect for whatever party or family function you have. I hope you enjoyed this totally vegan recipe. And all of the ingredients and for the topping and the cake are going to be at the beginning of the film and also in the comments section to make it easier for copying, for like cutting and pasting. So now that the cake is cooled and the icing is nice and firm, Linda and I are going to have some of our cake.
And Gary's been feeding me so many good yummy vegetables in a variety of ways that I'm starting to recover from the break of my pelvis. And we're going to test out his latest creation, which is a carrot cake?
Carrot
kumquat
Is that
cake.
too big?
That's too big for me.
Right there?
There you go. Thank you. Looking at it on the other side.
Yeah.
Look how your frosting just nicely covers so beautifully. Your tofu kumquat dressing. And there's one fork. Where's the other one? We just got one.
I use my hands.
Yeah, you can pick it up and use your hands, I think. I'm going to do it the dainty way with the fork.
Alright, so here we are sharing my first cake that actually worked. It's really moist.
Oh, that's delicious.
And the topping, though it's a tofu with sugar, of course, and nutmeg, it turned out to be really a nice topping.
What a great way to cook carrots. That is absolutely yummy.
So now you know an easy recipe that you can bring to your family functions. Surprise them, don't tell them it's all vegan. They're going to love the way it tastes. They're going to think it's just a traditional carrot cake with a slight twist of kumquat to replace the pineapple. Thanks a lot for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you like what you see, subscribe. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.